Tonight and through tomorrow, June 14th, 2026, weather conditions across U.S. coastal and offshore waters will remain active, with multiple marine areas experiencing thunderstorms, gusty winds, and locally hazardous seas. Over the Gulf of Mexico, especially across the western and southwestern Gulf near the Bay of Campeche, a weak tropical disturbance continues to be closely monitored. While the system has not yet developed into an official tropical depression, it is transporting deep tropical moisture into the region, producing widespread showers, thunderstorms, rough seas, and significantly reduced visibility during heavy rainfall events. Along the northern Gulf Coast, including offshore waters of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, mariners should be prepared for strong thunderstorms capable of producing wind gusts exceeding 30 knots, rapidly building waves, dangerous lightning, and brief periods of very poor visibility. Localized flooding is also possible in coastal communities due to persistent heavy rainfall. Across the western Atlantic Ocean, from the waters east of Florida through the Bahamas and along portions of the U.S. East Coast shipping lanes, no organized tropical cyclone is currently affecting the region. However, warm and unstable atmospheric conditions will continue to support scattered clusters of strong thunderstorms, particularly during the afternoon, evening, and overnight hours. These storms may generate sudden wind shifts, dangerous cloud-to-water lightning, and short-duration rough seas that could impact recreational and commercial vessels. Meanwhile, in the eastern Pacific Basin, off the coasts of Mexico and Central America, the 2026 hurricane season is already underway. Tropical Storm Boris and Tropical Storm Christina have both formed this season, with Christina currently active over the eastern Pacific waters and producing areas of heavy rainfall and rough marine conditions. Although these systems remain outside U.S. territorial waters, they serve as a reminder that tropical activity is gradually increasing across the region. For the Atlantic Hurricane Basin, which directly affects the United States, there are currently no officially named tropical storms or hurricanes as of June 13, 2026. Therefore, the Atlantic hurricane season has not yet recorded its first named storm. The official count of named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes remains at 0 at this time. Over the next 24 hours, the primary area of concern for hazardous marine weather will remain the Gulf of Mexico, particularly offshore Texas and adjacent waters, where abundant tropical moisture will continue fueling widespread thunderstorms and periods of rough seas. Although the immediate risk of tropical cyclone development remains relatively low, conditions can still become dangerous for small vessels, fishing boats, and offshore operations. Important recommendations for fishermen and mariners. Continuously monitor forecasts and advisories issued by the National Hurricane Center and local weather authorities. Ensure all communication, navigation, and safety equipment is fully operational before departure. Avoid areas experiencing strong thunderstorms or rapidly deteriorating weather conditions. Seek safe harbor immediately if towering thunderstorms develop nearby, and maintain regular contact with Coast Guard services and local maritime authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, as of June 13, 2026, the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season has not yet produced its first named storm. This means that across the entire Atlantic Basin, including the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and the waters off the U.S. East Coast, no official tropical depression or tropical storm has formed so far this season. However, meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center, NHC, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and several international forecasting agencies are closely monitoring increasing tropical convective activity across the western Caribbean Sea, the southern Gulf of Mexico, and waters near Central America. Sea surface temperatures in many of these areas are currently running 0.5 to 1.5 degrees Celsius above average, creating a more favorable environment for tropical low-pressure systems to develop during the second half of June. According to weather experts, the period from June 15th through June 25 could bring the development of one or two notable tropical disturbances across the Western Caribbean or the Bay of Campeche. While most forecast models do not currently indicate a significant hurricane threat to the United States in the short term, the likelihood of the first tropical depression or tropical storm of the Atlantic season is gradually increasing. Forecasters believe the Gulf of Mexico will be one of the key regions to watch in the coming weeks. Sea surface temperatures remain exceptionally warm, atmospheric moisture is abundant, and upper-level wind shear may become less hostile for tropical development. If a low-pressure system forms and remains over these waters long enough, environmental conditions could allow it to strengthen into a tropical depression or tropical storm before moving toward the Texas coast, Louisiana, or northeastern Mexico. Across the western Atlantic, including waters offshore of Florida and the southeastern United States, there are currently no strong signals indicating tropical cyclone development during the next 7 to 10 days. However, meteorologists caution that June is often a transitional month, and tropical activity can increase rapidly if strong tropical waves emerge from Africa or disturbances develop in the Caribbean Sea. In the eastern Pacific, the 2026 hurricane season has been more active than in the Atlantic. Several tropical storms have already formed off the coasts of Mexico and Central America. This reflects an oceanic environment that is currently very supportive of tropical cyclone development across the tropical northern hemisphere. From now through the end of June 2026, most long-range forecast models indicate a moderate to high probability that at least one tropical cyclone could develop somewhere within the Atlantic Basin. If a system receives an official name, it would become the first named storm of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. At this time, however, experts cannot yet determine the exact location, intensity, or timing of any potential development. Fishermen, commercial shipping operators, and all maritime interests are strongly encouraged to closely monitor updates from the National Hurricane Center, particularly across the Gulf of Mexico, the Western Caribbean Sea, and offshore waters of the southeastern United States. Even in the absence of an officially named storm, tropical disturbances can still generate heavy rainfall, strong thunderstorms, rough seas, gusty winds, and hazardous marine conditions. Overall, the risk of the first tropical cyclone of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season is increasing as we move deeper into June. Meteorologists emphasize that residents and maritime communities should not become complacent. It only takes one tropical disturbance encountering favorable environmental conditions for rapid development to occur over the warm waters surrounding the United States.
Good evening, everyone. Here is the latest nationwide weather update and forecast for tonight and Sunday, June 14th, 2026. Regional weather forecast, Northeast. A warm and increasingly humid air mass continues to dominate the Northeast as high pressure remains anchored offshore. Tonight, scattered showers and thunderstorms may develop across northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Some storms could produce gusty winds, frequent lightning, and brief periods of heavy rainfall. On Sunday, temperatures will rise into the mid-80s to lower 90s across much of the region, with heat index values approaching the mid-90s in major metropolitan areas from Washington, D.C. to Boston. An approaching disturbance may trigger additional afternoon and evening thunderstorms, particularly across interior sections. A few storms could become locally severe. Regional weather forecast, Southeast. The Southeast remains locked under a very warm and humid summer pattern. Tonight, scattered thunderstorms will continue across Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and the Carolinas. Locally heavy rainfall and dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning are expected in the strongest storms. On Sunday, temperatures will climb into the upper 80s and middle 90s, while heat index values may exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit across portions of Florida, southern Georgia, and coastal South Carolina. Numerous afternoon and evening thunderstorms are expected, especially along the Gulf Coast and Florida Peninsula, where deep tropical moisture remains in place. Localized flash flooding remains possible. Regional weather forecast, Midwest. The Midwest continues to experience an active weather pattern. Tonight, clusters of thunderstorms will move across Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Minnesota. Some storms may produce damaging winds, large hail, and torrential rainfall. On Sunday, a strong frontal boundary interacting with hot and humid air will create favorable conditions for additional severe weather. Thunderstorms are expected from eastern Nebraska and Iowa into Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana. Damaging straight-line winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out. Residents should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions. Regional weather forecast: Great Lakes. The Great Lakes region faces a heightened risk of strong thunderstorms through the forecast period. Tonight, storms may affect Wisconsin, northern Illinois, Michigan, and parts of Ohio, producing gusty winds and heavy downpours. On Sunday, additional thunderstorm development is expected around Lakes Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. Strong winds will be the primary hazard, although hail and a few isolated tornadoes remain possible. Temperatures will rise well into the 80s and lower 90s ahead of the storms, contributing to an unstable atmosphere. Regional weather forecast: Plains, Central Plains. The Central Plains remain one of the most active weather regions in the country. Tonight, severe thunderstorms are expected across Nebraska, Kansas, South Dakota, and portions of Oklahoma. Large hail, damaging winds between 60 and 80 miles per hour, and a few tornadoes remain possible. On Sunday, another round of strong to severe thunderstorms is forecast across eastern Nebraska, central Kansas, and northern Oklahoma. Storm clusters may organize into larger complexes capable of producing widespread wind damage and localized flash flooding. Temperatures ahead of the storms will reach the upper 80s and middle 90s.
Regional weather forecast: Southwest. The Southwest remains very hot with generally quiet weather across lower desert locations. Tonight, mostly clear skies will prevail across Arizona, southern Nevada, and southeastern California. On Sunday, extreme heat will continue, with temperatures ranging from 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 112 degrees Fahrenheit across many desert valleys. Isolated afternoon thunderstorms may develop over the higher terrain of Arizona and New Mexico, producing lightning, gusty outflow winds, and brief heavy rainfall. Regional weather forecast: Rockies. The Rockies will experience a mix of sunshine and scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, isolated storms will continue across Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and northern New Mexico before gradually weakening overnight. On Sunday afternoon, renewed thunderstorm development is expected over the mountains and foothills. Some storms could produce hail, gusty winds, and localized heavy rainfall. Temperatures will remain above seasonal averages across many valleys and lower elevations. Regional weather forecast: Northwest. The Northwest continues to experience a stretch of summer-like weather. Tonight, mostly clear skies and mild temperatures are expected across Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. On Sunday, strong high pressure will bring abundant sunshine and much warmer temperatures. Highs will reach the upper 80s and middle 90s across many inland locations, while portions of eastern Washington and Oregon may approach or exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Dry conditions will continue to elevate wildfire concerns across some areas. Regional weather forecast: West Coast. The West Coast will generally remain dry and warm. Tonight, areas of marine clouds and coastal fog will persist along portions of the California coastline. On Sunday, pleasant temperatures are expected near the coast, while inland locations experience significantly warmer conditions. California's Central Valley may see highs ranging from the upper 90s to around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Interior valleys of Oregon and Northern California will also experience summer-like heat under mostly sunny skies. Regional weather forecast: Alaska. Across Alaska, a broad upper-level trough will support mixed weather conditions. Tonight, scattered showers will continue across western and central portions of the state, while southern coastal regions remain relatively quiet. On Sunday, cooler than average temperatures will persist across interior and western Alaska. Periods of rain are expected across portions of the northern and western regions, while southeastern Alaska enjoys milder temperatures and occasional sunshine. Regional weather forecast: Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands will continue under a typical trade wind weather pattern. Tonight, passing showers will affect windward slopes and coastal communities, while leeward locations remain mostly dry. On Sunday, moderate to locally breezy trade winds will persist. Sunshine will dominate during the morning hours, followed by scattered clouds and a few brief showers across windward and mountain areas during the afternoon. Temperatures will remain seasonable, generally ranging from the lower to middle 80s.
That concludes our nationwide weather forecast for tonight and Sunday, June 14th, 2026. Thank you for watching Hurricane and Storm Center. Stay weather aware, especially across the plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes, where severe thunderstorms may bring damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes. We'll see you again in our next weather update. Have a safe evening and a wonderful day ahead.